Hello there, and welcome to The Great Comeback. I am your host, Holly McClain, and I'm coming to you live on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, the #1 talk network out there. I am a life coach and counselor, and I help people come back from big life shifts and upsets. So think big breakups, divorce, career changes, teenage struggles. Yes, I work with teens and young adults too. So if it's a life transition that you're going through, together, you and I can master plan your comeback. On today's episode, we are talking all things abundance and how an abundant mindset sets you up to receive as you navigate the journey into your next chapter. My guest today is an expert, and she will lay the groundwork for you and set your mind straight on how to be open to all the goodness that wants to flow into your life. My guest today is Priya Kumar. She was born and raised in the Fiji Islands. She's a profit coach, helping small business owners build a relationship with their finances and strategically plan their growth. She worked as a business investigator for over 12 years and decided not to waste any of her knowledge and to help those in need. Priya also facilitates financial workshops for single moms. And that's not all. Priya is also a hospice volunteer, marathon runner, and author of a gratitude journal, and a board member for a nonprofit organization. She's a single mom of a 6-year-old boy who's constantly keeping her on her toes. And her life's mission statement is, I want to leave those I meet better than I found them. She values honesty, integrity, and passion. And Priya says, whatever you do, do it with love and with passion. And she tells her son every single morning, do not forget to have fun. Not only is Priya sharing her wisdom with us today, but she also has lived her own comeback, battling mental health, suicidal thoughts, mental and physical abuse, divorce with a 6-month-old child, and the rebuilding of her life all over again. Priya, welcome to The Great Comeback.
Thank you, Holly. I am so excited to be here. I have talked to you before, and what you're doing is just so amazing. There's so many people who need this, who need to know how to come back and hear the stories of such individuals who have done it. So what you are doing is so amazing. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you so much, Priya. I appreciate you. So tell me, Priya, can we start off by having you share your unique comeback story with us?
Yes. I mean, life is a roller coaster. There's so many comebacks that we have, but there is one that pivots us and trajects us in a totally different direction that we have not expected to see ourselves go in. My story is something like that. And as you mentioned, I did battle mental health issues and suicidal thoughts and all that stuff early on in my life. That was, I was a teenager, like 18, 19, I would say. And At that time, I didn't really even know what mental health was. I had lost my only sibling, and life was just crazy. It was just it was just a wild ride. And as you can tell, like most young people, I mean, I'm sure you run into them in your line of work as well, is that a lot of them don't really know how to handle these traumatic events. Divorce is one of them, like had their parents going through divorce and things like that. My life did not take a turn until I became a mother. And it was the decision that I had to make. Am I going to stay in a relationship that I feel like has lifted its course and we have tried everything and it's no longer working? So do I spend more energy and try and keep trying and not be the type of mother that I want to be, or do I just let it go and be at peace with it, that I have given it my all, and now it's time for me to go where I'm meant to go? And that was, go ahead.
I was going to interject and share, Priya, that's that pivotal moment where you have to make that choice that is so painfully hard for some people. I mean, I was in my marriage for almost 10 years, and it was something that needed to shift, change, separate. And it
Yeah.
was so hard making that choice. Was there something in particular that you thought about or that you felt that kind of tipped you over that tipping point to decide, okay, I'm going to take this big leap and step out of marriage?
The tipping point was when I actually went back to work after maternity leave. And one day I was just like every new mom, you're obsessed with your child, you know? So I'm like going through all his pictures and videos and all those things. And by this time, he's like 4 months old. And I'm going through the pictures and watching his videos. And all of a sudden, I'm just like overwhelmed with guilt. And the reason I felt guilty was because I did not remember those moments. I was like on autopilot, being a mom, like feeding, taking care, changing, whatever it was that I needed to do as a mother, I was doing it. But I was not present in those moments. So when I was going back through those pictures, and that's what pictures do, when we look at pictures, we go back into that moment and we feel those same emotions. It's like, oh, I went here, visited this, how exciting this was. You can almost like smell the air and taste the food, And when I was doing that, I was like, oh my God, I don't remember these moments. And I would look at like the date and time and I really forced myself to try to remember it. And I couldn't remember it. And I was all like, okay, so I am so consumed by my marriage that has by this time already been broken, and I'm trying to fix it. I'm putting so much energy in it that it's taking me away from someone who actually really needs me. And I could not live with that guilt. And that was when I decided that, okay, I'm going to give my marriage one more chance. But this time I'm going to give it a time frame. I'm going to give it like 2 more months if things don't change. I don't want to be repeating the same thing over and over. We're just stuck in this cycle. And that's when I was all like, okay, I'm going to give it a time frame this time. If it doesn't work out, then I'm walking away. And that's what I did. And I had to choose. I had to consciously be okay walking away from something that has lived its course and start on a new journey as a mom. But like you said, it doesn't matter what your marriage is like. No one gets married to get divorced. It's a journey. It's heartbreaking. If I compare it to the loss that I experienced with my brother and going through my divorce, I would say the healing from my divorce took more, because it was the death of my brother. I didn't have a choice. It was something that happened and I had to figure out how to deal with it. And here it was like this, sometimes the mind will go, well, what if? And I had to stop doing that. I'm like, there are no what ifs, because I have tried the what ifs. And now I need to move forward. And I had to really list down the steps that I wanted to take. And one of the first steps was, I got to heal myself first. Yes, I want to focus on finances. I want to be able to rebuild my life. I want a promotion. I want a career shift. And at that point, when you are miserable, you start to see everything wrong with your life. I felt like my appearance was wrong. I wanted to change things like physically. It was just a disaster. And I had to really focus, like, no, I got to list it down. And I want to focus on the right things, right? I want to take those actions. So, yeah, so that's what forced me to take that shift and really align my life with what I wanted to see in my life moving forward.
And what I love, Priya, is that you slowed it down and you took a moment when you made your decision, which is so brave. I always wonder, what's more difficult? What's more challenging? Is it, when it comes to divorce, is it being the person that was left behind and having to put those pieces together? Or is it the person that said, this isn't healthy, this is something that, needs to not happen anymore, and taking that first step out? And as you shared, it's so difficult because you have that component of those thoughts that keep coming back, like, did I try everything? Could it have been different? So it's almost like it's not a clean break until you square it up in your mind around your thoughts. But the fact that you slowed it down and you said, okay, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to put it on paper and I'm going to note down, okay, what am I doing? What steps am I taking? I think that's critical for anybody who's going through a transition, any life transition, to slow it down and take those steps, because that got you those first few steps, if I understand correctly, in the direction that you want to go.
Yes, exactly. And as you mentioned, like the person in the marriage and the person after the marriage, like the shifts that happen. What happens is that sometimes when people go through divorce, they almost want to go back to the person they were before they got married. That's impossible. That person is long gone. Even if you wanted to, you cannot be that person. And then the person that you became in your marriage, that person is gone too. And sometimes we hold on to that identity like, oh, I liked being a wife. I liked being this person. Everything that I had, right? So it's also a loss. And what people don't do is they don't give themselves time to properly grieve that loss and to grieve the loss of their old self. It's a transition, whether we like it or not, we're having to let it go. It's not just the marriage, it's a part of our own identity too. It's a piece of us that we're leaving behind as well. And so that's why I had to focus, like, okay, I can't go back to the person that I was before marriage. I can't go back to the person I was during marriage. What is my identity now? Who am I becoming? Where am I going from here? The new identity. And my new identity was, at first it was like, okay, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm all these persons. But who am I really? Who is Priya Kumar without all these different masks and these different hats that I wear and constantly changing, Who am I? And it was that self-searching journey that I had to go on to really find my own identity. What are the things that I am compromising with my own self? What are the things that I'm telling myself that I want to believe to be true, but I know that it's not true?
Right. And Priya, that process of becoming, as you're trying to shed what you're leaving behind and figuring out who you are and adopting new pieces to the puzzle of what makes you you, that can be a lengthy process. That takes time.
Yeah, it takes a long time. So what I don't try to rush through any process, especially when it comes to me. So I give myself always 12 months for any kind of phase that I'm going to put myself through. So that way I have like enough time for me to even make mistakes, because this is new, right? I mean, I don't know how to heal myself. So it's going to be trials and errors. I'm going to have to try everything to really find what works for me. And that was like my thing. I was like, I got to give myself this much time and I'm going to immerse myself in it. Like that's going to be my focus. So I would name my year. I still do that. I name my year. So my first year after my divorce was just heal. And I went on retreats. I went to therapy. I read tons of books. I would watch podcasts and listen to all these like motivational stuff, read quotes, like totally immersed myself in it to find that healing. And then it doesn't stop there. Like you figure it out and you got to carry it with you, because even after that moment, things continue to happen in your life, right? Like I look at the pandemic, like I lost family members and things like that. Healing is an ongoing process, so it's like, okay, I'm going to learn this and I got to carry it forward with me, right? And then the next year was like, okay, I got to take care of all the financial stuff and I got to rebuild myself. What does that look like? And I got to break it down in steps, like this is what's going on, and not be angry at it, not be upset at it, like I'm having to start from scratch, because I don't have a choice. Now I got to find that balance and actually do it with love and joy for myself. Otherwise, the dreading part of it mentally it's going to mess you up. You're constantly going to be blaming someone else, and you're never going to find that happiness within yourself. So the healing part that I was doing, if I went into this rebuilding part with anger and frustration and being upset that I'm here, then that would undo the healing that I was doing.
Absolutely. And I love that this little program or healing process that you devised for yourself was very loving and patient. And what's interesting is it's inspiring to hear how other people are doing it. And for listeners out there, listen to how Priya set this up. This is in such a loving way where she gave herself time and space and room for error. And that's what you want to do as you're setting yours up for yourself, whether it be with your coach or your therapist or on your own as you're going down this healing journey, but setting it up from a loving place so that you are setting yourself up to step into your next chapter without all those resentments and holding all of the negative pieces. So this is actually a good time, Priya, maybe for us to jump in and talk a little bit about the work that you do, why you do it, abundance, what it means, all the things.
So after I went through my journey, I fell in love with the person that I became. You know, like when you are younger, you read all these like fairy tales and stuff. I don't really like fairy tales because I'm like, no, you're not a princess. You got to be the queen, you know? You got to build your own empire and rescue yourself, you know? So as a mother, one thing that when I sat down to talk to myself, I heard myself really finding like just being so blessed and so grateful. And I'm like, I didn't even see this. Like, God created me in this way that I can actually bring life. Like, another human being, like born with like all the pieces of a human, you know? And I'm like, and when I said with it, I'm like, it's like magic. Like, who can create that, you know? And I'm like, I created this. And I'm like, and I'm scared about like what life has given me. Like, I'm terrified that, oh my God, I'm giving up already because, oh, someone hurt me, someone broke my heart, having to restart. I'm like, that's nothing. I am a walking life of abundance myself. Why am I limiting myself? You know? And that's when things started changing. So the first thing that I did was I created my own gratitude journal. It was originally for me until my friends saw it, and then they're all like, well, we want a copy of it, you know? So I ended up publishing that. But yeah, it starts with gratitude, everything that I'm grateful for, and not just like writing it down that, oh, I'm grateful for food, I can afford food and stuff like that. No, you're going to take it a step further. Like, your gratitude has got to have a deeper meaning. So my gratitude was like, I'm blessed and I'm grateful that I can afford to have food, you know, because it's healing my body. And it's not only healing my body and my spirit, but it's allowing me to be a healthy person so I can give back to the world. You know, like the gratitude has to be like, it's lengthy, but that's what it means. Like, what does it really do to you? Because you can be eating bad food and still be grateful, you know?
Exactly.
You know?
It sounds like you're getting into sort of the nitty-gritty specifics of what you're actually grateful for and like really feeling the feelings, like embodying it. Right?
Yeah. So it was the gratitude for my journey that really allowed me to become this person and start doing what I was doing. So one day I was like on Instagram just scrolling, and I read this quote, and it said, I refuse to waste my pain. And it just hit hard. Like, it's just like stabbed me in the chest, and I'm like, oh my God, that's powerful, you know? So and then I wrote my own. I was like, so the first thing was like, I refuse to waste my pain. But then I'm like, what about the rest of this stuff? Then I was like, I refuse to waste my knowledge. I refuse to waste my energy. I refuse to waste my existence. I refuse to waste my life. And that's when, like, I was like, okay, what are the things that I would love to do in this world? I only have one life and I have limited time, you know? So then I was like, I want to learn more about life. So then I was like, I don't want to just read a book. I want to know from people who have lived it. So I started volunteering for hospice. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I really want to be able to help other people. What has my work experience been? What are all the knowledge that I have gained throughout my life? So then I listed all my work experiences, all my strengths and weaknesses, what I have learned from those jobs, what I hated, even, because even the hating part makes you realize that you're resilient. I put up with something. What did it teach me? And then it taught me that I actually really see people as people. If someone does something negative, and it's funny, I tell this to people and they really laugh. I'm like, if someone says something negative to me, I just shake my head. I'm like, oh, it's just that I have nice hair. Because no one really shouldn't have a reason to not like you if they don't know you, right?
Right. And all of that reflection of whatever somebody's putting out there, or their negative energy, or their response,
Yeah.
that's all coming internally from whatever's going on within their little soul and within their body.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm not going to judge them for that. I don't know what's going on in their life. And then, so they're just those little things. And then, so when I put all my experience and knowledge together, then I was like, oh my God, one thing that I've always been good at in my life has been finances. Because my dad was, but both my mom and dad, they were blue collar workers, and my dad was very honest, when I was in high school, and he was all like, you know what, I know you're going to go to college soon, but I am not going to make any fake promises and, shine the light and tell you that, oh, I got everything. And so, like, I actually don't got everything. And I'm like, where we are, I can only afford to put a roof over your head and provide food. The rest is on your own. You're going to have to figure it out. And he's all like, the sad part is, I can't even advise you whom to go to because I don't know whom you should turn to. So that's on you. So my dad very early on taught me how to rescue myself. And that just went ahead in my life with me. So I was like, okay, he's being honest. So I got to figure this shit out, right? And it was
Oh
like,
my gosh. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I need to learn about all these stuff, like, so I was probably one of the very few people who opened their investment account when they were 18 years old. I was adult. I'm like, let me get this shit together.
Ahead of the game. So I'm super curious, like, what are some little nuggets off the top of your head that your dad shared with you?
Oh, there's so many, but there are some that I strictly live by. So that one is one of it. You got to rescue yourself. No one's coming to rescue you. You got to know how to rescue yourself physically, emotionally, all that stuff, right? Another thing that he has always said is what I do is my karma. What someone else does to me is their karma.
Okay, so
So I
similar.
was all like, I'm not going to carry this. I'm not going to let their karma change my karma. Meaning, if I run into you and you had a bad day and all of a sudden you just mistreat me, I'm not going to go on and mistreat the next person because that's how I got treated.
Yeah, it stops right there.
It stops right there. Yeah, he was all like, what I do is my karma. It's a choice. It's a conscious choice that I'm making, right? And he's all like, I'm not going to let anyone determine or change what my karma is supposed to be or going to be or not be what I want it to be. So it's always been me. I'm like, well, because someone last time when I was on a podcast, someone asked me, like, they were like, you're a nice person, you're giving. Do you feel like people take advantage of you? Like, people take advantage of people all the time, little things, big things, whatever it is. But I'm not going to let that change me. I am who I am. I already give for free all the time. So I just see it as a donation. I'm like, well, maybe they needed it more than I did, right? And I'm glad I was able to help. And I hope they remember me for that. But that doesn't change me from continuing to give.
That's such an abundant way to view the world because, when I think of abundance, I think of free flowing and things are coming in and energy is flowing in and out, and there isn't a finite amount that we're going to run out of. So you just giving your energy and giving your joy out to the world and supporting others is a very abundant way of looking at the world, which makes sense as the profit coach. And we're talking about abundance today. So I want to bridge the gap and take us into abundance and money, because I don't know if this is a thing in the US, but I feel like we connect abundance with money. Maybe that's because it's the currency that kind of makes things go around.
I think because in the time and era that we live in, people always see abundance as more. And they don't think as let me do more or let me be more. They think of let me have more shoes, more cars, more homes, more stuff that we can't store anywhere, So it's the definition of abundance, joy, happiness, even money is different for every person. For me, when I say so, the profit coach comes from just not profit in the dollar sign, but profit in your life. So when I coach people, I talk about their experience with money because money is really energy, right? You can't really have more of what you fear. So what is your relationship with money? How do you see it? Does your relationship with money has a name? you know for me, if I see it money as my best friend, when I'm in a bad place or wherever I am, it shows up to help me. If I'm in a bad mood, money helps me get coffee that from Starbucks that's like, I don't know, 1,000 calories by the time I get done ordering it based on my mood, right? But it makes me feel better. And then if a family is in need, I mean, I only have 24 hours and I have a child, so I can't always show up to help them, right? So it's like, okay, I'm just going to send you some money. You can go get groceries, or I can DoorDash you some food. Like when my grandfather passed away during the pandemic, I couldn't be there for the family. So we just transferred money. Every day I would order them some food, DoorDash it, because it just made it easy. So it's the way you look at abundance, right? And it's like, no, profitize not just your business, but your life. And a lot of people, business owners, when they don't have a relationship with their money in that way, they're not able to grow their business. They get stuck on this revenue wheel. Yeah, you're making money, but if you don't have profit, you're not able to take care of yourself, your business, your family, or anyone else.
That is so true. Priya, you hit on like two additional golden nuggets here. One, backing up a little bit, when you were talking about abundance, and we perceive that mostly as like more, 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 but actually shifting your mind and thinking to yourself, if I want abundance, I have to be abundance. Whether it's, putting things out there
Exactly.
and love and all the things. And it's funny because in relationship coaching, there is this concept of, if you want that partner that loves you and treats you well and respects you and all the things, you have to be doing that for yourself first,
Yeah.
so that you're vibrating and you're attracting that in, which is
Yeah.
an interesting concept. If you
And
want,
you're going to be willing to give that in that way and not just receive it. So you will also attract the person who's willing to give you that. And you're willing to give them that. And another thing, like when I was going through my journey of rebuilding and coming back, I had to really look at on the emotional level, what was it that I wanted more of? And one thing that always I came back to was peace. I want peace no matter how my day goes. When my head hits the pillow, I want to be at peace. And when I wake up in the morning, I want to be at peace. And for me, that's abundant because I can create that joy for myself. And anything that you do with joy and happiness and you have more peace, you're able to give more. You're able to love yourself and others around you in that way. And that's why I tell my son, like, just have fun. At the end of the day, I mean, I can't really help you get better in school if you're already, if it's done, it's done. But if you're doing whatever you're doing, don't do it with stress that I'm going to be upset. Do it with love and fun. And it shows.
wow, and it's almost like it opens up the pathway for abundance or love or things to kind of slip in. I don't know if you've had this experience, but when I'm in a stress mode and I'm working through something or powering through something, and then I take a break and I just have fun, not competition, not accomplishing an additional task, but when I go have fun or I take a walk and I just let it be, it's almost like it opens up this portal for
Yep.
lightness or something wonderful or something sweet to come in.
And you're able to see it more because you're now at that joyful place. So even someone just opens the door, you're like, oh, thank you, but when you're stressed, you don't even notice that someone opened the door for you.
No, it's like putting on like your the rose colored glasses. If you're putting on the gratitude colored glasses, you're priming yourself to look and spot those things in the world. And then it just comes in and you notice more and more. And you think more is coming in, but it may have been there all the time and you just didn't notice it because
exactly. What we shine the light on is what grows, right? And people say like, well, the grass is greener on the other side. And I'm like, no, I watered my own lawn. So if it dries out, it's my own fault. So I gotta water it.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Priya. Your focus on taking responsibility for yourself, loving yourself, that's a very empowering place to start. And I think for anyone who's going on this journey, or whether it be a healing journey or they're transitioning and they're coming back and they're just on the brink of getting into their next chapter, incorporating the wisdom that you shared today, I think is huge for them to sort of pack in their backpack, so to speak, and take along with them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And if anyone is interested, they can get my gratitude journal. It's on Amazon and it's called My Journey. And at the bottom, it says rebuilding with gratitude. And over here, it says one step at a time, one day at a time, because that's as far as we can move, right? As fast as we can move, right? And then it's guided, like it's all like marked, and every day has a quote. I'm big on quotes. So I'm like, okay, what is my day gonna look like?
No, I love it. I have your journal and I absolutely love it because it's got little additional components. It's not what you would think where you just list 3 things that you're grateful for. There are many different components to it. It's an excellent companion as you're moving through into your next chapter or coming out of your previous chapter.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's you wherever we are in life, life is still beautiful because pain is that knock that forces us to open the door within ourselves, to open the door to look within. Who are we becoming? It's not why this is happening. It's like, what is this trying to teach me?
Yes.
It's a silent message. You asked for something, you were looking for something, and in order to make space for that, something has got to go, and that something is going to be something that does not serve a purpose in your life anymore. And sometimes it's relationships.
Absolutely. Thank you for your beautiful final words, Priya. I appreciate having you on the show today. Will you share with our listeners how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, for sure. They can email me at priya@pivotmyprofit.com. My website is pivotmyprofit.com. And also I'm on Instagram, and on my Instagram handle is profitcoach.priya. On TikTok, it's the same, profitcoach.priya. And then I'm LinkedIn as well, as Priya Kumar.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Priya. Again, thank you for being a guest on The Great Comeback. And thank you to our listeners as well for joining us in the conversation today. This episode was sponsored by the 6-Week Comeback, which is 6 weeks of one-on-one coaching with me, where I coach you to a place of clarity, confidence, and belief in yourself as you create the next best chapter of your life. You can get in touch with me by going to hollymcclaincoaching.com or jump right in, click the link in the show notes and book your complimentary discovery session. And finally, a very special thank you to Cece, my amazing producer, who works her magic on the back end to make the show possible and amazing. Please join me again next time. Have a great rest of your week and be well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.